Hey, what's happening, webheads, comic book fans, comic book weekly fans? Guys, you're here for another episode of Comic Book Weekly. It's going to be a fun show for you, even though we don't have a ton of news, but we got a fun topic to talk about today. And of course, I'm Mike Spider-Slayer from the YouTube channel Comic Book Corner 2.0. And my co-host here, we have Kat Comic Uno.
Hey, guys.
And then we have Brant Fowler from Only Good Comics, which I actually watched your review today on Something's Killing the Children.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And
no
hi,
problem.
everybody. Yeah.
So welcome to everybody out there. Yes, we're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about the top 5. We're going to take your questions, your comments, and we're going to do all kinds of stuff like that. So real quick, let's just, I guess, get into the little bit of news that we have.
Yes. So first up, we're going to talk about some comic news because it's the least we have. So Spider-Man and Black Cat's romance is going to heat up in Dark Web, which we've been kind of speculating about. Will Mary Jane be happy about this? Will she not be? There's a big one-shot in Dark Web with Black Cat and Mary Jane. So curious to see where this is going to go. You know, I'm not offended by a Black Cat Spider-Man romance, but I think, all depends on Mary Jane's thoughts about it. For me, to be happy or not about it.
I mean, right now Mary Jane's got Paul, so who cares?
That's true.
But
she's happy with Paul.
It's like, aside from Gwen, like Felicia's the only other like solid choice for Peter, I think, besides Mary Jane and Gwen. It's like, okay, I can see him with Black Cat. Everybody else is just, filling the moment, I guess, for me. Yeah. So not that they're not important in Peter's life, just saying that as a fan, I've always liked the Black Cat Spider-Man dynamic, personally.
I do too.
And it's so interesting because Iron Cat, the last issue of that came out this week, and it's just like there's no even whispers of like her being interested in Peter because she's dealing with her ex-girlfriend. And I just find that so interesting. And I'm curious because Jed McKay has been writing Black Cat this whole entire time and is going to write that one shot. So will he even involve the romance or are they just going to completely ignore it? I'm very curious about that.
Who knows when this story actually takes place, though, too. You know what I'm saying? So, and even though they have this kind of this relationship going on, it's just like, it's still okay for Kat to have, feelings for Tamara or go back to, those old days. So, but I like the relationship. Like, for me, I love Mary Jane. Like, I love her as a character. I love Peter and MJ, but I always liked Black Cat better because she's the edgier character. And I think, I think she brings out more in Peter than Mary Jane does, personally. And I think she does not make Peter worry so much about having to watch like Mary Jane. Black Cat can hold her own. They can fight side by side with each other. And I feel like, the relationship makes sense. So that's why I like them together. I mean, and so whenever you do have them together, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to see how this works out.
Let's hope they do something with it.
And at least he's keep a relationship and he's not going to be a whiny baby about Mary Jane. Oh, why is she like, I don't want to hear him be
he still will be.
Bitch.
Huh? He's like, I love Black. He still will be. He's like, I love Black Cat, but Paul.
He's still looking at the picture of MJ. Yeah. If MJ wasn't here, then I wouldn't have to be with Black Cat. So,
oh God. We do have a question for the infamous Mike Manhattan. Did you guys see Kiki Palmer dressed up as Rogue? I did. It was fun. It's cool.
I hadn't, but I have.
It's I could look. Let's show the people as well. So
I was going to, but I don't see the share screen thing.
Oh, is it gone?
That's weird. Present?
It's presents now. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it though.
Okay.
I got it.
Cool.
So that's her. She looks great. Yeah. I like it. It's so interesting to see celebrities because they have all this money that they could do like a photo shoot for their Halloween costumes. Because I saw another person do this too, and I'm like, that's wild. I'm just like, I guess it's like a cosplay photo shoot. I mean, again, she looks great, so That's awesome. I mean, maybe it's also her way of saying like, I want to play Rogue.
Yeah.
Like, look when I look.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok. Jodie Hauser, the writer Jodie Hauser, she did this TikTok like trying to come up with a last minute costume. She was like, dress like Age of Apocalypse version of yourself, because unless somebody's been to Earth 2, whatever it is, they can't, criticize the accuracy of your costume.
That is fun.
That was funny. Yeah,
I agree. I didn't dress up at all this year. I was at Baltimore Comic-Con and I didn't feel like it. So I didn't want to take my clothes and like pack my clothes pretty much. I didn't want to pack a costume. So did not dress up this year. That's okay, because I don't care about dressing up too much anyways. I always do low effort costumes. All right, let's get into Stargirl being canceled. I think we all saw that coming. The CW is done.
Not a surprise. It's not a surprise. It's all on its way out.
I mean, I love the show, but I'm surprised it got this season. So
right?
I'm definitely not surprised that it got canceled.
Out of all the shows, Flash is ending. I'm like, oh no, Stargirl's the lone survivor. That's not gonna happen.
What about Superman and Lois? Is that gonna end too?
No, we don't know. Far. That's the one I feel like if they're going to do something with it, they'll move it to like HBO Max or something. I think that's something.
It's not going to stay around there though. If they got rid of everything else, it's definitely going to leave.
I can't think of another show that's literally on the network there because Riverdale's ending. I don't know other than Superman that. CW's officially done.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, the Winchesters, and I think there's another. There's like a Walker show. So the main Walker show, but then there's a spinoff show. Yeah,
right. Like a prequel series or something like that takes place in like the 1800s or something like that.
And that's still gonna be on there too. Yeah. So I guess there's some shows, but I don't know if they're gonna stay there,
right,
or not. All right, let's get into
see you too.
Vision returns in a spinoff. I feel like we also saw this one coming. Like, I don't think like they would end WandaVision the way they would. I was like, all right, cool. I'm excited to see a Vision show. I will say the one show I've enjoyed fully from Disney Plus for Marvel was WandaVision. I watched a lot of first episodes and even Miss Marvel. Like, I liked the show, but it kind of lost me in the middle. And I haven't even finished it because of that. And I liked the first couple episodes, but I'm like, oh, it's not like I love the main characters and I like the main actress I really like, but I'm like, it's not like the comic. Like, I feel like there was more that got done in the comic books. So that's the only one I like truly loved was WandaVision so far.
I really like She-Hulk. I just haven't had a chance to finish it yet. Yeah, I haven't finished. Yeah, we haven't finished Miss Marvel or Moon Knight. We did enjoy Loki though, but not like WandaVision.
She-Hulk is the only thing I have not finished, and but Werewolf by Night was hands down.
I didn't watch that either.
I still need to watch that. I almost watched it this weekend.
Oh, it's so good. God dang.
I know it's only like 50 minutes too, so maybe
it's 53 minutes exactly. It's like once you get into it, you breeze through it.
Mm-hmm. It's also
watched it the other night. Yeah, go ahead.
It looks good. I was gonna say it's such like something you don't have to commit to. It's not a whole show. It's like it's 53 minutes.
Yeah.
So thank you for the recommendation. Maybe me and Brant will watch it at some point. What stopped you, Brant, to watch it?
I don't know. I was just looking for something to watch. And I was like, no, I'll watch a movie instead or something. I don't even remember what I watched instead.
And that is a movie. It's a 53-minute movie.
Yeah, I know.
The best type of movies is 53 minutes. All right, let's get into already the last topic for news, and then we'll go into our main topic, and I'll plug my Kickstarter. New direction for Green Lantern show, because every DC property has a new direction at this point because everything's going on with Warner Brothers. So it's not going to be the core anymore. It's just going to be Jon Stewart as the lead, which I feel like he's the most boring Lantern out of all of them. Like I love that there's gonna be a black lead for a Green Lantern show. And I think that's cool.
Kyle.
I agree. I think Kyle, but he was the Green Lantern when I came into DC Comics. It's like Wally was my Flash, Kyle was my Green Lantern. So
I feel like Kyle would be really cool. And then there's the Hispanic Ben too, so you can have a Hispanic lead.
And he's
an
artist.
That would be cool. And he's an artist. That'd be a cool visual.
He's relatable. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be awesome to have him. Just something different. I don't know. Jon Stewart, I just feel like we see him in every type of lantern thing there is, right?
And he was in the Justice League animated show, and I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
they
what
did
I mean.
the best they could with him there.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we need more, you know?
Him
Like
and
I'm like, all right.
Hawkgirl. Yeah, absolutely.
And I won't say I don't think we should have more, because like I don't want to say, oh, it's only a one and done, but I'm like,
Right.
I feel like there could be multiple Green Lanterns too. I don't know. Maybe it's just he's not my lantern, so
I would rather they do the whole all the Earth lanterns. Like even if Hal, Kyle, Guy, John, put them all in there. I'd be happy with that.
That's what the original show was, and then they canned it. We do have another question. That honestly, it probably was. We do have another question here. Have you guys discussed new Wonder Man and possible Wiccan casting yet? We did it because I don't really know the actor. I was like, that looks cool, and I know he played Black Manta and Aquaman, and he was good in that. But I also don't know much about Wonder Man either. Like, I don't know really anything about the character. So
I'm not really into Wonder Man either. I'm surprised they are making a movie of him, but
I think it's
I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I looked at the article and I was just like, all right. I mean, yeah, he played Black Manta, right? So, and then he played something else.
Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the Watchmen. Yeah.
I didn't realize he played either of those guys. So that's good. Wonder Man, it really depends on like what they do with him, because Wonder Man has such ties to Scarlet Witch and Vision that if they play into that, then that could be really good. You know? But just Wonder Man himself, it's like he's an actor in Hollywood that tries to be a superhero.
Right.
It's like, what more can you do with that unless they go comical?
You never know, though, because just like Ant-Man, you're like, oh, there's an Ant-Man movie. Like, what are you going to do about Ant-Man? You know, no one knew about Ant-Man.
True.
No one really knew
about. At least they had the father-daughter story, though.
Right.
He was a thief.
But no one knew about the Guardians of the Galaxy and all that stuff, too. So it's kind of just like, maybe they might do a good job with that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. So, we will see for sure. But interesting to, I think they said Wiccan as well. Sorry, I was reading a comment as we went along, but I haven't heard anything about Wiccan. I mean, technically he's been cast already because he was a little boy, but I'm sure we'll see a future version of him. All right. Well, let's get into let me talk about my Kickstarter, and then we'll get into our main topic. So, Kickstarter time. I do have a Kickstarter going on right now for Slice of Life, and I'm gonna pull that up. Slice of Life is about an anime character that comes to life and falls in love with a high school cheerleader. We have some pretty cool covers here. We have a She-Ra homage. We have a mystery cover. And then we also have a spicy cover as well. So hopefully you guys could go check it out. And I will put that in the comments. Now let's get into our main topic of the night, which actually one of our lovely viewers recommended last week. And we realized we liked a lot of comics this week, but there weren't like any huge topics from the news or the comics. So we're like, let's do this one. This would be fun. We already liked the recommendation. And I feel like there's a lot to talk about. So the main topic is burnout. Do we feel comic book burnout? So I think we should start with comics first, and then we could go into like the shows and stuff. But Mike, do you feel comic book burnout?
I don't know if I necessarily feel comic book burnout, but I feel comic book overwhelmed at times. And I think, say, for this week is a perfect example. I read 21 books this week, and I feel like there's sometimes all this pressure to get these books read, because obviously my content on YouTube requires me to read all these books, which is a good and a bad thing, right? Because sometimes it's like, would I read all these books within a week if I didn't have this YouTube stuff? Or would I just let them sit there? You know what I'm saying? And obviously, I got to read all the books to prepare for the show. And then I have to read the books to do a show that I do on the weekend. And I couldn't read them all this week in time to do that show. And so that kind of pisses me off. So, but there are times though where I feel like, man, am I burning out? Because everything revolves around these comics, right? The show, the videos, the comics, even putting away the comic books. like there's so much that goes into it, and every once in a while you're just like, oh my God, I just need a break from these comic books, and it's just a matter if you can do it or not. And I can say honestly that it's good to take a break every once in a while, even if it's just for like a day, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of decompress a little bit, but it's tough, man. It really is tough.
How about you, Brent?
Yeah, I think I'm more like you, Mike. There are certain weeks where I really just get tired of it for a little bit, and it's because we're on this. We do this show, we all do content, and there is that pressure to get them read in time, and then I read a lot of books like you, Mike. Like I read 19 this week, so I'm right there with you. And yeah, sometimes it gets to you, that overwhelm. It's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get all this read and do all this, and then I got to talk about them, and I mean, I enjoy talking about them every week, but it's like sometimes it gets to be a bit much, especially when you got other stuff going on. And so
with other comics too, and your other stuff is making comics.
Oh yeah, and then even if your everyday life, like I mean, I didn't even mention either, like with all the YouTube stuff that going on, I still got a family, right? I still got to do events with the kids. I still got my real job where, I teach tennis for a living. So it's like, I got all that stuff. And so I got to fit all the YouTube stuff in there,
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry, Brent.
No, it's fine. And yeah, like you said, Kat, with comics absorbing so much of my life, it's like, I think I get more burnout on other comic content too, like the TV shows we were talking about and stuff. Like, that's why I stopped watching all that for a while. And, it just sometimes it becomes so much comic stuff that you just kind of have to step away from it, and it's hard to like go back and read other stuff that you have like in your pile that you want to read, because we're reading all this weekly stuff, or you're reading like just regular books and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's more of that overwhelm. But there are times, like especially like when the holidays come, I'm like thankful when we take breaks, because I don't have to read those books right away. And to answer your question, Mike, I know for a fact that if we weren't doing this show, my books would stack up probably for weeks at times.
Right? For sure. And
like today. Oh, sorry, Kat.
No, go for it.
Like for instance, I've told you guys this before, and I know we talked about this behind the show, so we're kind of being a lot more transparent now towards the audience. But I've talked to you guys before. I hate reading 12, 13 books at a time. And that's what I did today. Like because I feel like I can't digest them the way I want to, because then I'll tend to forget things that happen in those books. And I hate that. You know what I'm saying? I love when I can sit there and read 4 or 5 books at a time. That's like my ideal thing. And I feel like my magic number for reading books is like 12 or 13 books for the entire week. That's what I feel like I'm comfortable with, that I can say that's an easy number for me to get everything done and not feel overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because it's like if you have 12 or 13, take 3 or 4 days, spread them out. That's a good pace. That's a really good pace. When you have 20 and you got to read them in 2 days, it's like, oh my God. And that's, sometimes that's just where life puts you.
Right.
I'm like
you can't
cramming. I'm cramming on Monday and Tuesday. Like, I got to finish all these books, and yeah, it gets rough sometimes. We're not like you, Kat, where we sit down and read them all.
I do like reading them all, because again, I like I think I've said it on the show, or I know I said it to you guys, but I do like my Wednesdays just to be my comic days. It allows me to have a break. It allows me to tell everybody, don't bother me. And everyone in my life knows, is like, don't bother me on a Wednesday. I don't want to make any plans on a Wednesday. Honestly, I like to cook. I like to make nice things when I cook. Like, it takes me a little while to cook dinner, and Wednesday it's like, nah, I'm gonna cook that easy thing, or I'm gonna order something, because I really want it to be my day where I read my books and enjoy myself. But comic burnout though, 100%. That's why I really have not watched as many shows. I think I don't even watch that much television in general. If I'm watching something, it's something so unrelated to comics or so unrelated to storytelling, it will be a reality show, or it's going to be a YouTube. And when I say YouTube, it's not this. I mean like Good Mythical Morning or The Try Guys. Like, I watch that and not you know,
like
this
research.
type. I don't watch YouTube I don't watch comic content at all. Like unless it's like us, like I do not want to touch it, don't want to look at it. I'll read stuff like on Twitter and like Facebook and things. I will not touch. And again, nothing against it. It's just like I live this life.
right.
I don't need to watch it. That's my YouTube time is when I want to relax. But I will say there are weeks where I read a book and I'm like, man, my highest book was 3.5 stars. And that's when I start to get burnout where I'm like, I didn't love any of my books. But then when a Do a Power Bomb comes out or like I really liked Crashing, like those type of books come out and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I love comics. And
exactly. And you wish that all your books were like that.
Yeah. And I feel like they used to be, and maybe maybe I have more in my life, or maybe it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm busier, but I remember back in the day, like I would say pre-COVID, maybe I was just reading more books, but I remember every week it wasn't hard to get a 4-star book or a 4.5-star book, or every week I would have a 4.5-star book. And I don't think that always happens anymore. I don't know if it's just the content we're reading or I'm just a harder grader. But I'm like, man, I kind of wish I missed the days where every week had a 4.5-star book.
Too. Yeah, your taste change. Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, I experience burnout in just so many ways of the comics, like where I'm just like, oh, I just need a break because it's just because it has to do with my schedule. Like New Comic Book Day, just for instance, is the hardest day of the week for me because I have to wake up in the morning at 5:30 after doing this show. I got to take my son and my daughter both to school, and then I got to do all the errands before I get to the comic shop, right? And then I got to go to the comic shop, and then I got to record the haul. And once I get done with the haul, I got to pick up lunch for my wife, go home for 10 minutes, upload that video, make sure it's uploaded because that's the high-speed Wi-Fi, then go back out and go pick up my daughter and sit in car line for 45 minutes. And in that 45 minutes, I'm reading comic books so I can prepare for the video that I got to make the next day. So it's always this constant shuffle. And I think the hardest thing for me is it's always been this for the longest time is editing the videos because it takes that what is it? It takes so much time. It will be a 14-minute video and it takes me like 2 hours to do it,
Yeah, that's what I'm rediscovering now that I've started this channel to only get comic stuff. And it's, obviously I had some family stuff going on. That's why there wasn't content for a few weeks. But yeah, it's like, man, I forgot how long this stuff takes because I hadn't done it in so long. And yeah, it definitely drains you. And it's like, that's why I don't put like the hauls and stuff on myself yet or right now, because I can't handle it. So I don't know how you do it, Mike. Honestly, I don't know how you find the time.
It literally is like whenever I have a second, it's literally just squeezing things in whenever I can. I don't do a single edit or video on a computer. It's everything is on my phone. And so whenever I have my phone with me and I have a minute, boom, I'm editing or I'm doing something. Now, it probably limits me a little bit because, yes, everything is on the phone, but it's the only way I can do things. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. I don't have that time because, again, I have other things in my life that I have to do.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I'm not a full-time YouTuber where this is my job. I can only imagine if this was my job, like how much more I could dedicate to it. But tennis is my job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's interesting also on the other side for me and Brant, where comics is our job, but not this type of side. It's like making comics is our job. And it's hard to balance it all, but it's so different because like it's honestly like this side of comics is the hobby part. This side is just like I like talking to my friends and talking about comics. But then it's like the other side is like, oh, that's work. And then you think about comics in a different way. I actually wanted to answer that. One of the commenter says, this sounds like nostalgia cat. I think when I was saying like, oh, I used to love a lot more comics. But honestly, I think it's just because I'm in comics so much. Like the rose colored glasses are gone. It's like now I'm just like, the people that make not in a bad way, but like you become friends with the people that make those comics or, that makes you look at things differently, or just, you making comics looks at things differently. Because like, oh, I would have done this differently, or the lettering is weird, or why is there 5 different artists? And now that, when you make a comic, you understand the backgrounds of why those things happen. We had another question Tevye asked a couple of times, but actually there's a lot of questions, but I'm going to answer Tevye's first. Wouldn't it be easier to focus on one book? We would not have enough content to do that. We have a hard, this podcast today was hard enough with the content we had, because we were like, oh, there's not enough big news, which is why we had this topic. If we covered one book, it would not be an hour and a half podcast.
I can't talk about one book for an hour and a half. I don't know how some people can draw that out and talk about a book, whether it's good or bad. I don't get it. I would get too bored. You know what I'm saying? I like talking about all the books. That if there's the one thing that is the payoff at the end of the week for sure, is when we get to sit down, all three of us and the audience here, and talk about all these books.
100%.
And that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This show is what makes it worth it, and what makes us not have the burnout. 100%. Like, just talking to each other, talking to you guys, it's just like, oh yeah, this is why I do it. Because like, even when I do my show on Wednesday, I'm like, I'm just talking to myself. It's fun, but it's just like, I still enjoy doing it. But it's not like this. This is where it truly is, because you get to really talk about it.
Yeah, because it's like being at a comic shop and talking to people, or being at a convention and talking to people about comics. It's we're sharing our passion with each other and with all of you. So,
and our thoughts about the books too, because even if you're at a Comic-Con, it's more like, oh, this was really one cool book. But this show, we could really genuinely like dig into stories we love or hate or disagree on. Tizzy asks Mike, would you want to do YouTube full time?
It's kind of funny because I debate about it with myself all the time. And I kind of think about, well, what would my life be if I did YouTube all the time? I think I would be very, I don't know if the word stressed out would be, but I would feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like there's a lot of other YouTubers out there and they do great for themselves. But when it comes to YouTube, you never know when your time could be up and things just change for you. You know what I'm saying?
And YouTube has now become more of a media company. If you want to be a really, really, really like make this your full-time job YouTuber, it's more of like you want to build a company. And that's like the big step. It's like, oh, do I want to make a company or not? Yeah.
I mean, I have this huge passion for comic books. I've always had since I've been a little kid, and I love talking about them. It's something, I know we're talking about Burnout, but it's something that I will never get tired of. Because if I got tired of it, I would stop it a long time ago. And obviously I don't do it for selling reasons. I do it because I talk about the stories. And, but my other passion is tennis, sports. Like I've played that stuff my entire life, and giving back to the community, with tennis is so self-rewarding in itself that I don't think I could ever give that up, so I just love tennis. When I teach a student of mine, she's like 7 or 8 years old. And this is one of the reasons why I started teaching tennis to begin with. I was giving her a private lesson and she goes, we were hitting stuff and she did really good. And after we got done, she was like, Coach Mike, you're the best coach in the whole world. Like I literally almost cried. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things that it's just like, yep, that's the whole reason why I got into teaching tennis to begin with. So as much as I love YouTube and comics, I don't think I could do it 100% full time. I will dedicate as much time as I can to it, but full time, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. And I think I would get out of shape, and I don't think it would be good for me.
Honestly. I think it's interesting, again, even going on more of like the comic business side, like doing even that full time. Like I write comics for a good portion of my living, but I have to do a lot of other things to keep the balance and do a lot of other freelance work. So it's like, it's also just making sure you want to like be afloat, and also just like, I feel like building a company in general is so hard. And again, that's like a YouTube thing, is like you're building your brand and like trying to be like, okay, where is this revenue stream coming from? Where is this revenue stream coming from? And figuring that all out is it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if I was much younger, maybe. But yeah, I'm with you, Kat. Like comics are pretty much my life, but it's like different facets of comics. So like years ago, I ran like different news sites and did that side of it, and but at the same time, I was lettering and doing logo design and some web design, and I was bouncing all over the place. And even now, we have Last Number Press, but we're also doing puzzles and diamond paintings, and Lisa's got her clip art business, and there's still a bunch of prongs to
Trying
it
to make money.
yeah, and also it keeps it interesting, and you're not always doing the same thing all
Right.
the time. So but yeah.
So
We have another.
Oh, go ahead. No, take the
Let's answer
question.
this question. So this
Yeah.
is Mike Manhattan. I'm taking a break from buying Marvel and DC to catch up on backlog, but mostly. Oh, actually, was that one? There was one asking like, oh, here it is. This is the question. When you say comic book burnout, do you mean comics from the big two or all comics in general? I think it's burnout from different things, though. Like, I feel like I definitely had burnout from Marvel and DC because it's just like, oh, you've been reading it for so long. Like, maybe I don't love as many titles as I used to, but I still love a lot of Marvel and DC titles. But yeah, when we talk burnout, we're definitely talking about all of them. Because you find gems from all different companies too. Like a lot of times I'll find indie books, but there's like a Marvel and DC, like Dark Knights of Steel. That one surprised the hell out of me.
I think I find myself when I read independent comics, I tend to enjoy those stories more because they're original, they're different.
There's no restraints.
Right. Not that I don't like my Spider-Mans or Batmans or whatever it is, but it's just cool to see something or read something that's completely different. Like, for instance, Brant reading Something is Killing the Children. Like, you open that up and you read that and you're like, wow, this is something completely different that I have not read before. Where you've read Superman 1,000 times or Spider-Man, no matter how many different iterations someone can change or do, you've read that character 1,000 times, and it's not 100% fresh or new for you, and that's the difference between the big two. And the other thing is obviously the crazy events, like all the events. And I feel like now the events have gotten so out of control, it's ridiculous. Like, if this dark web event didn't come out, like if Spider-Man wasn't one of my favorite characters, I probably wouldn't collect the whole thing. But I didn't hesitate to drop this whole Judgment Day thing, So when it comes to the events, I think they've gotten to the point where it's just unbearable at this point. It's just like, why do we need all these event books all the time, We
also have another question. Any tips for someone like me just starting a YouTube channel?
Oh man,
consistency.
You got to come up with a plan. The biggest thing, and being that Kat and I and Brant on and off for Brant, but Kat and I have been doing our YouTube channels forever, like forever. And people don't even know this. Like, my channel, I've been doing the Comic Book Corner 2.0 one. I've been doing for like 7 years. At least, I think, maybe a little bit less. And Kat, you've been doing your channel since you were like 15,
since in
right?
high school. Yeah. Since I'm 28, so that tells you something,
right? And the thing that I can say, and we're not big YouTubers at all, so we're probably not even doing something right because we only have so many subscribers. And you see,
we're no Mr. Beast.
You see all these other people come along and they just come up and they're like, whoop, because I don't know, they're just better than us. But it is what it is. But the thing we can say is you have to find something that's going to make you stand out, or you got to find a reason why people are going to want to watch you. If you're just going to do content to do content just for hopes and no real plans, it's going to be very hard. You
like,
gotta,
honestly, back in the day, you were able to review, let's say, Amazing Spider-Man issue 55 and get views from it. You can't just write Amazing Spider-Man issue 55 review and expect to get 1,000 views on it.
Right.
Unless you have you have to have a little, honestly, this show, we've been growing on this show and figuring out what it is, figuring out, what's a good thumbnail? What's a good title? Back in the day, we didn't even have a fucking title. We would have like our name, and then that's it. And then sometimes we do like a silly title or whatever, and it had nothing to do with the show. And be like, oh yeah, you learned.
yeah, for sure.
It's just one of those things. You got to stand out. You got to present yourself, and you got to be consistent. Come out with a plan. Just come out with a plan of what you want to do before you do your channel first, right? If you go out there and you just throw shit out in the wind and see what sticks, it's not going to work.
But also, I think Brant has an interesting take of what your new channel is as well, because you've been doing reviews, but you've been doing books that are older, which I actually think is a smarter idea. Because if you were doing just the weekly reviews, I feel like it's just like, oh, then it's just like this one issue and it's dead. But you're reviewing something like Something's Killing the Children, everyone's going to want to search that. Same thing for Radiant Black. It's just like I think that's a good plan for other people too. It's so weird because I think other type of mediums you shouldn't do like old stuff, but because in comics people pick up a lot of trades, people like collecting things, so that's that's a cool beat as well. And also, Brent, from like someone who's restarted their YouTube channel, what do you feel like you've learned, or like your journey on that?
I mean, one of the things obviously was, like you guys said, consistency, because that'll kill it like immediately. And that was like one of my problems. And also like a focus for the channel. I think every other channel that I've tried to do, there's been like a lack of focus, and I've bounced around this idea and that idea, and it just becomes this hodgepodge of a bunch of different types of content. And I think I learned that from watching you guys and just from being around YouTube for a long time. That, having that singular focus or at least a connected focus throughout your content is a better strategy than just kind of throwing everything out there and seeing what sticks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the amount of people that talk comic books, it's amazing. Like, I never even thought there would be that many people talking about comic books. And now it's like when they throw the spin on it, it went from comic books talk to the spec market, and that's a lot. That's a big thing now.
That's a huge
for a lot of people.
People like to make money.
YouTubes. People want to make money. They want to see how much their comic book is worth. But and there's a lot of that out there. And you can see how many YouTubers are doing that now as well. And again, same thing though. It's like it gets to a point where people are going to want something else. And what is that going to be for comic books? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough when it comes to comic, because we are a niche audience. Like, we don't get views like the other YouTubers, say like the cooking YouTubers or some, how-to YouTubers. We're just like people that talk about a magazine where the industry is not that big to begin with,
Yeah, I mean, how the biggest books are like 100,000 sales. It's just like, all right. That's
exactly.
Cool.
So you're behind the 8 ball to start with, So it's tough. But, the number one thing, though, I'll tell you this, out of anything here, if you do YouTube, do it to have fun. Just have fun with it. Okay. Because if you're doing it to make money or to get recognized, and that's all your intention is, then you're going to get frustrated. So go out there. Number one thing is have fun, and everything else, hopefully for you, it will follow, and you build from there. That's all.
Yeah. What's that saying? What's that saying? And I think there's a book titled that too, "Do what you love and the money will follow," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you put your love and your passion first, and then, once you're doing that, then you'll figure out ways to monetize it and stuff without it being like, oh, I got to go get that money. And then it just stresses you out and you lose interest.
Right. Tevi goes, so are comic book YouTubers dying?
I guess we're dead.
No one said they're dying. No one's going anywhere. There's great YouTube comic book people out there. You know what I'm saying? They do great content. Their production is phenomenal. They got teams of people. Yeah. However, even their videos are not as strong as like just other YouTubers out there, like gamers, and just other. I can't even think of other YouTubers, but like, can you imagine if you were someone like Mr. Beast, like how much money you would freaking make? Like, think about that.
He's worth billions of dollars, which is wild.
Insane.
But also, like, again, that's his company was literally, I love listening to him. I think he's such a brilliant man.
Very smart.
I think he's I think he's so fucking interesting, but just like how he sees business, like it's like, how do you sell yourself? How do you make a brand? It was more than just like how to make a good YouTube channel. Like the way he talks about business is just like, yeah, you know, I made a channel and dubbed all my videos for Indonesia because that's actually the biggest viewers for YouTube. So instead of just making it closed captioned, I actually had someone dub all my videos. And now like his goal is to be like the biggest viewed over there. So it's just like doing strategies like that and always being innovative. And I think that's to anything you're doing. You're trying to make a YouTube channel or, you know, trying to make a business or trying to whatever. Know your voice and try to be innovative with your voice. And that's, I think, a big thing for YouTube as well. And then the viewers will follow.
You know what I'm burned out of? Comic book prices.
Someone asked about the saga thing. They said, did you hear the saga's going to $3.99 instead of $2.99?
Oh, it is? I didn't see that. Yeah.
But also, how was that a $2.99 book? How did they make any money off that book if it's $2.99?
Well, look at Spawn. I mean, Spawn, all Spawn titles are $2.99.
But he makes money other places. So I think for him, it's kind of like the Mr. Beast thing where Mr. Beast says he actually is in the red for his YouTube videos because he's giving away millions of dollars. But he said that like his hamburger business, his other businesses is where he makes money and like how he can funnel all that money into the next YouTube video. So it's the same thing for Spawn. Like Todd McFarlane, from what I could probably understand, is not making money off those single issues. He's making money off those trades and he's making money off those statues and like all the merchandise. I know he's making money off those merchandise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he can make it $2.99 because he doesn't care if he's in the red for that because he has other revenue streams.
Right. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. You know, I don't like how books are $5.99, $6.99, and you're forced to read a backup story that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? And I find that so frustrating, you know? So Mr. Beast equals I don't know her. I don't know her, but I know you guys.
Hey, watch some Mr. Beast videos. I think you'll enjoy.
I've actually never heard of Mr. Beast either, so don't
really?
No, I haven't. I don't watch a lot of YouTube, honestly.
Mr. Beast. Let me see how many subscribers he has. He has. You have to make a guess, Brent. How many subscribers do you think he has?
Well, if you're talking about he's worth billions, man, I don't know. Like, is he a comic guy? Is he a
No, he's like an entertainer. He's just like
he's just an entertainer. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's totally different then. I have no idea then. I wouldn't even.
You gotta make one guess. Just make a random guess.
Don't even like know what the big ones have. Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Is it over 100 million subscribers, Kat?
Yeah, sure. It's 109 million
109 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
That is wild.
Insane. And this is a young guy, right?
Like, he's younger than me. He's like 24.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And he just gives away money and because he like, all right, to give a little background. He became famous or like became like known for his videos because he counted to 100,000 and didn't stop. Like that, when he did like a whole video where he counted all the way to 100,000.
Wow.
And then he did videos like that where his mind, he could just do things that other people would not have the mind power to do. So he's just like, I'll bury myself alive for 48 hours. That's like, I think that's his most viewed video where, he buried himself alive.
Yeah, and he did it. He made it happen. Okay. So anything else that you guys are like tired of when it comes to comic books?
Oh man.
What's one thing that bothers you about actual comic book reading or collecting right now? Like,
I would say
about us in general because we are content creators and we follow the industry like mad. But what is it about, like, if you were just reading comic books and that's all you were doing, what pisses you off the most right now?
Not allowing creators at the big two to do inventive things. I think there's a lot of strains, at least from what I read. I'm not, talking ballpark things, but I just feel like I want to see more things like Immortal Hulk and Venom for bigger characters like Spider-Man or Superman, where it's just like, it feels like this person's writing. And I don't think we get enough of that in the big two. I think a lot of it all seems the same. Like if you like, I know Mike, you're enjoying Thunderbolts, but like Thunderbolts is just like any other team book, you know, and they got together or whatever. I'm not saying it's not a fun book, but I want to see, just more innovative books and more voices. Like I think She-Hulk's a good example of that. Runaways was a great example of that, where it felt like its own corner of a thing. Thor, I think, was a good example of that. It's only crossed over with every living thing that he could. But I want to see just more innovation when it comes to the big two, because I think the indies are in a good spot right now, but the big two.
So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Is there, based off of the way things are in the big two these days, should the big two come to an end? I mean, this is just speaking. We've had these characters in our lives for years and years. Are we out of ideas at this point? Is this the main problem with the big two? We can't get writers to figure out what to do with these characters anymore.
Just like Marvel movies aren't all superhero movies, their comics shouldn't always be superhero comics. And I'm not even saying like, I think a great example is Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. That's not really a superhero comic.
No, it's a great book.
Grounded. Yeah. And it's just this grounded, almost indie feel book. Do that with your other characters. If you have a Captain America book, just like Winter Soldier was popular because it's a spy book, Black Widow is a great example. Black Widow, I feel like the Kelly Thompson run, which just kind of stopped, I just realized. I think it ended and it's like, oh, it's over. That was a good example of, it felt like more of a spy book than a superhero book. There were superheroes that popped in and out, but it felt more of that. So I think leaning in its genres, make a comedy book, make a romance book, like make different types of books and not everything be a superhero book.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
I'd agree with that.
What about you, Brant?
I don't know. I know it's not really an answer.
No, that's fine.
I'm kind of two minds. It depends like on the book, but like some books, the constant relaunches, it's hard to get into a book and then it gets canceled real quickly, not giving books enough time to breathe, enough time to find their voice and footing. But I agree with Kat too. It's doing different stuff with these characters in these books and letting creators kind of go outside that sandbox a little bit that they're so often put in that they can't do this or that with that character because they got to do this in this event or that in this thing, or you can't have anything happen to them because they have to be okay in a year from now and all that kind of stuff. It's hard with those company owned characters.
Do you think that it's going to continue to get harder for these creators to write these characters because we constantly are doing different volumes, relaunches? Does it make it harder for them?
I think in one sense it does. Yeah. In another, like if they have a finite story and it fits in a certain gap, then that could be a little easier. I don't know. That could be a struggle as well. But
it's interesting. I was going to say, it's interesting. Like, Scott Snyder has been very vocal on the fact that he didn't like editorial for DC. Mm-hmm. Like he felt so restrained. And like anytime there was an event, he's like, oh shit. Like that made him so stressed. Cause like, it was like, oh, I could have 5,000 projects going, but it won't be as stressful as doing that, that restraint of DC. And I remember when I went to a Dan Slott panel at San Diego, and he was talking about, he's like, you know why I've been at Marvel for 30 years and I've been successful at Marvel for 30 years? Because I know how to play the game. I know how to, if they want Peter Parker to be a clown, I'll put a red nose on him and I'm going to make it great. So I think it's just different types of writers. There's some writers who love like figuring out how to make something work. And then there's other writers saying, well, I had this big plan. Now you screwed it up and I can't tell the best story I want to tell. So, and I think we're seeing more of that left side, because look at how many people left, these places to do their own thing. Because they're like, I can make more money doing my own thing. I can make a Hollywood deal to do my own thing. And I literally am in charge of everything. I can make my own business. I make all my money if I'm doing my own thing. So I think right now in the industry, there feels to be so much more power in indie comics than there is at the big two. Not to say anything of like anything against the big two, because I think it's
No,
everyone's
no.
dream to write Spider-Man.
Sure.
But I do think there is more money in indie comics right now to be made for the creator than there is at the big two, because there's no exclusive deals anymore. And I think that's a big hardship for the big two, is that they're not paying their creators correctly.
Right.
And at least in that regard, I'm not saying they're not paying their creators, but you can make a lot more money doing your own thing.
Well,
right
that
now.
was the
That's why you're
thing.
seeing a lot of creators do it.
Right. That was the thing back in the day, like when all you had was Marvel and DC, and you had a phenomenal artist on the books. Example, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee. That's how they got recognized, right? And they worked for Marvel. But once they left and they created Image, that was always the beginning of independent creators. I mean, that was the way everything got launched. And now these independent books are becoming so popular right away. They're getting optioned for movies and this and that. And it's just like, well, what is the point now of writing Spider-Man or X-Men or any of these other books, And when you look at X-Men, and I know I'm personally, and this is always my opinion and our opinion, I'm not a fan of what's going on with the current X-Men. I loved Hickman's idea, but he's not there anymore. So now you have all these different people that are trying to tell Hickman's story, and he's no longer there. And I just don't think it works. I don't think they're doing a very good job with it, And it's like, that's another thing I'm tired. I'm tired of all these X-Men books that are coming out that don't personally really mean anything. Like, what's going to happen at the end of the day with all this,
We do have a comment from Supreme Omega. A lot of comics, even the creator-owned stuff, feels like IP farms. Sorry. Yes, but I feel like for the most part, those people still want to make a good book. I'm not saying there's not people out there who make a comic, they want to make a TV show or movie, and it's easier to do that. It is easier to do that. If you have an IP, it is much easier to pitch in Hollywood than it is if you don't. Sure. So it is a good form, but that doesn't mean that they didn't love that comic. I mean, we're going to talk about Rogues Gallery in a bit, but Rogues Gallery was a wonderful book, and it got optioned to become a TV show or movie, whichever it was, before the book was done. It doesn't mean that creative team didn't love writing that book and creating that book. It just means they have opportunity to make even more money and do the thing that they love and spread that product to more people. So I know there's people always against the Hollywood aspect of comics, but I say embrace it.
But if it can make a good story on film, then people are going to get it. Like, so you got Rogues Gallery, you got 8 Billion Genies, you got Something That's Killing the Children. Like, you got all those books, right? That just, those three in itself all got optioned for stuff, and it's just like, was it their intention to have it be a movie? Who knows?
Who cares if it was? If it's a good book, it doesn't
But all
matter.
they're thinking, all these, it's a good concept. It can make a good movie when you think about it. Like, would you not want to see Something Is Killing the Children on screen? I would love to see that.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't you want James Tynion to make money and that way he could do more things and be paid correctly? Well, he needs to get a Hollywood deal to do so. The amount of comics you can sell is not compared to what you can make in Hollywood. Tevi asks, what about Keanu Reeves? That's a perfect example of, Keanu, when he actually, there was in San Diego Comic-Con, there was a Hall H panel for Berserker, the comic book. Not talking about the movie, talking about the comic because Keanu Reeves is helping write it. And then he was on a TV what's his name? Seth, the guy who does late night. What's his name? Seth something.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
I don't remember his last name. Myers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Seth Myers. He was on the show, not talking about any movie or TV show. He was talking about the comic book. Isn't it cool that a guy like Keanu Reeves is promoting a comic book like to more people than anyone else could ever reach? I think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
We also had another question from Tevi, and I'm going to pass this on to Brent first. What happens if the indie market collapses?
I mean,
I don't think it will.
I don't think in this current climate it's going to. I mean, it has before in the past, and it's bounced back. I think there's too many hungry creators out there, and like Kat mentioned, a lot of the big two creators left to do their own thing. So I think right now the indie market is very strong, and I don't think that's something to be concerned about.
I think too many creators have too many of their own stories that they want to tell.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of the really good ones too.
Yeah, and I honestly love where the indie market's going. I think it's really cool that like IDW in particular, like they when the whole TMNT thing happened, they're like, cool, we'll just make our own books now. And they've been doing so much more in that regard. And then there's like cool publishers coming out, like Vault is a recent publisher that really made a big boom. Mad Cave, I think, is going to do really interesting things because they have Mike Martz there now. So I think the indie comics have never been better, in my opinion. Yeah. And maybe it's because, you know, me and Bran are in it, but I truly believe it has not been better than it is now. Like, look at the diverse type of stories we've been getting. And if, let's say it's not on the direct market, go to Kickstarter and get a cool book there. And, you know, things like Kickstarter didn't exist before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Justin K says, have you ever thought about making your own comic back characters that you created before? I made my own superheroes. So me and Bran actually do make comics. I just linked the link of my Kickstarter, but that's our other job. So
yeah. Look up lastnumberpress.com to find more of my stuff.
I think that's it for comments. But I think you mentioned, Mike, one thing we really want to do is have more of these type of topics. Yeah. So if you guys have suggestions in the comments about topics that you would want us to talk about, we'd love to do it because this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Put it in the comments section. You can put it in this chat, and then we can make a note of it. And then what we'll do is we'll shout you out when we use your topic. So this way it makes our job a little bit easier of coming out with topics to talk about. Because this one was recommended from one of our viewers, like Kat said earlier, and we appreciate that idea because it was a great discussion between all three of us and between all of us watching as well. So we appreciate that. So that's how it goes. All right, so we're going to dive into the comics, but before we dive into those comics, I'm going to promote Whatnot. I recently became a promoter of Whatnot, and I know a lot of the comic fans out there know what Whatnot is, and it's a live auction site where you can buy not just comic books, but you can buy cards, you can buy records, Hot Wheel cars, G.I. Joe action figures, Legos, whatever it is. And so I'm going to leave a link in the chat here, and when you guys sign up a new account and you use my link and you make your first purchase, you're going to get $15 off. So you're just getting a free $15 for creating an account and buying something. And I think that's pretty awesome that Whatnot can do. And that's what's great about it. It's you can use it on anybody's thing. So it's just I'm giving you that link to get the $15 off. So I'm going to put it in my chat over here, and hopefully you guys will take advantage of that. And I appreciate it. So I'll put it right there. Hopefully it pops up. So there it is. All right. And so now I think we talked about comic book burnout, but we still love our comic books, and we're going to get into those big books in the top 5. We're going to see which ones we may liked and not like so much. So let's talk it off. I can't talk. Let's talk about it. Let's just say that. Okay. And the first thing, this is perfect timing. The first thing that you two can talk about is Action Comics, because I got to get something to drink. Action Comics 1048. I'm not jumping on this until 1051, I think it is. When the new
I think is. I'm going to stop and then continue when that happens, because I was like, oh, Superman's on Earth. That's cool. Maybe they'll do something with it. And it's not really about him this issue. And I'm like, okay. So I'm probably going to wait as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the art was nice in this book, but I agree. It was just kind of I don't even know what you would call an issue like this. And I read last issue as well. But yeah, it's more like the lead up to the new arc or whatever, the new direction kind of thing. So this was more about what's Lex up to? What's Bippo up to? What's what's up with all these aliens going to the zoo and meeting animals for the first time? It was a odd issue. It was definitely a filler issue.
Which is weird because again, I thought he's returned to Earth. There'll be stuff to talk about.
Yeah, not.
I'm glad I didn't waste my money. That's for sure. That's good.
It's like a little stalling to get to 1050. I think. Is
yeah.
What doing right now.
Yeah. Totally get that. All right. Here's a book everyone's reading: The Amazing Spider-Man issue 12. Probably Kat didn't like this. No one Kat.
I actually did not hate this one. I thought this one was okay. I genuinely look. It's not the best Spider-Man book I've ever read. No. Far from it. But I did not hate this one. I liked there was some movement with the Hobgoblin. I mean, that's kind of it in this issue. But I don't love John Romita Jr., but I thought there was more progression in this issue than we've been getting.
Yeah, I didn't love the art, but I like the confrontation between Peter and Norman, and figuring out who the Hobgoblin actually is this time around, and that there's multiple. And I thought it was a fine issue. It wasn't great, but like Kat, I didn't hate it. So
I liked it. You guys,
I know
I liked it. I liked the Hobgoblin. I liked the twist. I liked the little story. Because it actually did have me at first. I was like, wait a second, if it isn't Ned Leeds and it isn't Kingsley, I'm like, who was it? And then it wound up being Kingsley, and Ned, he's manipulating Ned Leeds. And I thought that was kind of cool. I did like how Peter went to Betty Brant's house, and she was horrified, about the whole situation. She was kind of beside herself, and I like that. It was kind of creepy. She's like, yeah, he comes in at home and he's wearing his Hobgoblin costume. I don't know how to deal with that. And I thought that was kind of cool, man. I overall thought the issue was good. And the trust issues were pretty good. It's like, I know a lot of people are like, well, how can Peter ever trust Norman Osborn because of what he's did in his past? And Peter, yes, is trying to be the better person, right? He's trying to be the good guy here. But I think Zeb Wells is trying to do a pretty decent job at showing the reader that Peter is having a hard time trusting him because he is doing things a little sketchy, and he's just like, how can I trust you, Norman, when you're doing this or doing that? So, there's elements in there that I really enjoy. And I think the next issue is the issue that leads up to the events that happen lead up into that dark web situation. So, I know it's the art. The art definitely is always a downer for a lot of people. So, and it's me too. It's not my favorite art. Like, I made fun of it when I did my review on it. Like, Norman Osborn's bruises look like some deformity. Like, it just looks so bad, man. It's so bad. But, gotta roll with it. That's the way it goes. All right, let's move on. And we're going to talk about Vanish issue 2. What'd you guys think about this issue? I like this one.
I liked issue 1 more, though. And again, this is not my genre. So I'm just like, all right, I want to read more because I love Donny Cates' writing. I think he's great. I love Ryan Stegman's art. So I'm like, I want to see this through at least for an arc and see like where it goes. Because he's usually good with the twists and turns as well. But this one was just a little slower. I was like, oh man, this felt like almost a filler issue to get to kind of point A to point B. Because that first issue really sucked you into the world. And now it's just like, what's he going to do?
Yeah. Like issue 1, you got the whole backstory. You got the present day stuff, the battle with the supposed superhero, all that. In this issue, it was like, hey, I got to tell my best friend and my wife what's going on. And that's pretty much it. There wasn't a whole lot of... Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. And I think... the point there was, I guess, to get you introduced to those characters. And, I think that was the key. What I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about the 9/11 thing?
Yeah, that was a little uncomfortable, right? Like, I know it's been a long time, but yeah, it was very heavy. I was surprised.
I don't know if it was necessary, if I'm being honest. It didn't really give... Yeah, I don't know if it gave, as someone who's from New York and was around when it happened and many memories about it. I don't think it did anything for the story. I understand you want that shock value, but I was like, this is a little bit... No, I'm good.
Talking about it would have been fine, and I understand the purpose of it. Showing them some tragic thing, and the way that the teachers were manipulating their
Yeah.
students and all that. But showing the visual of it was, yeah, I don't know that was necessary.
Gotcha. I mean, I was curious on that too. I was just like, yeah, that's a tough one,
Mhm.
But personally, once I got past that, I really liked the issue. I thought it was good. I thought it was cool getting introduced to the best friend, and him trying to explain, hey, listen, why do you want to go after these guys? You got everything in your life right now. You got a wife, you got a house, you got everything. It's just like, why do you want to risk all this? And how have you not told her yet? Because now she's in danger. And so I felt some tension between the best friends and him trying to make the right decision. And I like
Mhm.
the emotion between his wife and himself, so that's what I got out of it. I like the emotional beats out of this one. So we got introduced to the world in the last issue, and here we got introduced to more of the major players in this issue. So that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, cool. So with that being said, let's move on to our number 5. Kat, what was your number 5?
Mine was Spider-Man. We already talked about it.
All right, Brant.
Iron Cat.
Iron
It was
the conclusion.
The conclusion. Yeah, and I thought it was a decent conclusion. I mean, no big surprises. We obviously knew that Iron Cat was still alive, and that was going to be the culmination there. And I thought it was a clever little play that they basically pit her against herself, Bane or whatever. So that was nice. I like the way that played out. And that she disappeared with the armor. I really like that. And of course, Tony Stark's all mad about somebody stealing his tech again. But yeah, we'll see her again.
It's a fun book. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just a fun ride.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kat.
No, it was just a fun ride. I feel like if you enjoy Black Cat, this is just it's always cool to read. Like I never am disappointed by it. It won't blow your mind. Like it's not like there's, like you said, Brand, it's not like, oh my God, there was this big conclusion, but it's just like, cool.
Yeah.
Like I had a good time with it.
Absolutely.
I thought the conclusion was like very like convenient, right? And but it was, what made that book though wasn't really all that. It was all the character interactions that I liked about it. You know what I'm saying? And I love the relationship between Black Cat and Tamara. I thought that was really interesting, exploring that relationship that you never knew that Black Cat had. And I thought that's what made the book for me. But it always had good action. It had great artwork, and I enjoyed the series overall. And hopefully Jed MacKay, he'll write more Black Cat in the future besides the dark web stuff. So I'm looking forward. Hopefully I'll be looking forward to more.
And Tamara's biggest lesson is don't jump to conclusions. Talk to the girl. Find out what happened.
And my number 5 was also Spider-Man, believe it or not. Yep. So, all right. Next, you guys in your Mighty Morphin Power Rangers still sticking it out.
It's good. I like this issue. I felt it was pretty solid. Like I was kind of worried because there is a new writer for this book, but I feel like she goes into it really well. And we get to see Matt, who's the Green Ranger. He interacts with our regular Rangers. And then we find out Rita, who's like kind of big Power Rangers villain, is kind of destroying all these other Power Rangers villains and wants to be the top again. And I thought it was good. I was like, all right, I'm in for the ride. It was well written, good art. I liked it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because it's the same writer that does Dead Lucky, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we both didn't love Dead Lucky, and I was a little worried about that too.
Yeah, I was nervous going into this one because, I mean, 100 was a solid conclusion to that run, right? But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good first issue for this new direction. Like they have to go to rescue Lord Zed of all people. So I thought that was an interesting twist. And then of course the Rita stuff. And it felt like it didn't miss a step. It felt like it just picked up right where it left off and continued in that same kind of a voice, but just, just a little bit different. But I thought it was a really solid issue. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Sorry, guys. Go ahead, Kat. I got to respond back to my wife here real quick.
I think we have Strange Academy finals. So, Brant, what did you think about that one?
I love this book. I mean, I always love Strange Academy. I think it's a really good read, but this obviously it gave us a little recap in the form of a student writing a letter to their family, kind of filling them in on what's going on. But at the core of it, it's like this prophecy that they introduced in the first arc, where Dormammu's kid Doyle and his girlfriend Emily are supposed to be at odds, and everybody thought Doyle was going to be the villain, but it's turning the other way around, and the students are slowly starting to discover this, that Emily's probably the big bad here. And she's getting worse and worse with every time we see her, and this time she's like taking students prisoner and not letting their letters go out, and she's taking over the mindless ones, and so it's really heating up. No pun intended with Doyle, but yeah, I thought this was a really good first issue for this new volume. What do you think, Mike?
I I love this issue. I think this is the perfect. This is definitely an all ages comic book, and so like when I think kids can actually read this book and enjoy it also.
Yeah.
But I love this issue, and I love this story overall. And reading this book reminded me of why I like this book so much. And I loved how Scotty Young introduced all the characters in his first volume, and they all had their own little story arc. And now things are heating up. It's getting a little bit, darker. Things are getting more serious. And I just enjoyed it. And I loved, like, if you didn't read the first volume, he did a great job at catching the reader up. If you never read this before, this would be a good jumping on point for you. You would totally understand what's going on. And that's what I appreciated out of this. And then you get to learn a little bit about Calvin in this issue too, how he's like got expelled from the school. And this is the whole reason why Emily started this whole rebellion thing, because of Calvin. He gets kicked out, and now he's trying to sell, like, it's like drugs on the street, but it's like magic
Wishes and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And he winds up failing at it. And then now he's being put under with all the other people that I guess failed this gas lamps, business in the past also. It's such a good book. It really is. I mean, Kat, I honestly think, like, if you read this, you would like it. I really, really do.
I didn't love the first issue though.
But so that was one issue, and this is something that...
And I hate magic.
I do too. And I'll give you a perfect example of a book that I hate magic with, and that was that new book that came out from Charlie Adlard that I was all excited about.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I hated it because it's magic, and it's just so involved and so in depth. I was like, I don't give a fuck about this magic stuff that's going on. But this is light. It's not focused so much around magic. It's focused around the characters. It's focused around the school. And so if you love character development and you like coming of age books, this is a coming of age book of these characters going to this school and, dealing with real life situations. It's a great book. It really is.
It's kind of a balance. If I could make a comparison, it's kind of a balance between like Wolverine and the X-Men and Harry Potter. It's somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they have a season 2. So this is the final one until their second volume, right?
No, this is the beginning of the second volume.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was, it is called Final. Oh, I thought it was like a one
Final.
Strange Academy Finals issue 1.
Like school finals. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if it's the final volume.
I mean, it's cool. It's got like Scarlet Witch, and it's got magic, and their teachers, and it's cool. It's really cool. It is. It's like the Academy, like like that book, that series back in the day.
The Avengers Academy, yeah.
Yeah.
will. I'll see how many books I'm getting when issue 2 comes out. If I'm not getting a lot, I'll check it out.
It's definitely worth a read. I mean, if this is probably one of Scotty Young's best projects. This is a perfect example of coming out with something fresh, new, and different.
For sure. For
Marvel Comics that we haven't seen. And but yet it's familiar at the same time. This is a perfect example of it. This
feels more of the magic than
an independent comic book. He could have made this an independent comic, but he put it in Marvel.
Yeah, and it's like all these characters, like some of them are connected to other characters, but most of them are like just brand new characters. So you in that first volume anyway. So
yeah, they are. So if you go to first issue, the amount of first appearances in that book is extremely huge.
Yeah.
So it's considered a key comic book because of all those first issues.
I can imagine.
Appearances. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to number 4. Brant, what's your number 4?
Mine is Exterminators, number 2. Which that was like one of the first books I read, so I can't remember what happened.
It was like mine too, believe it or not. I think it was Spider-Man, then Exterminators. I think those were the first 2 books that I read.
So in this issue, they team up with Laura, and you think, oh man, they're gonna fight, and then Laura's like,
hey guys,
and then they work together. Let me see if there's a cliffhanger. I think that's the only thing I don't remember about this issue is what the hell that cliffhanger was.
Yeah. They're in that.
I think it was that. They find out who the villain is.
It's vampires. They're just doing battle against vampires at the end of it.
I had such a fun time with this book.
It is a fun book. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like what this book is for me. It's like a guilty pleasure book. It's like that movie that no one will likes, but you like it whenever it's on. You're like, oh, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch this movie. I like it. No one else may like it, but I like it. And for me, I think this book is that. It's like a B-rated movie, and it's just fun. It's different. I enjoyed it. I liked the mirror maze where they look at their reflections and they start fighting themselves. And what's good now about the ending of this is they're fighting vampires in this mirror maze. And what can the vampires? They have? They don't have reflections, so they're not going to fight themselves. They're just going to wind up fighting, the Lady X-Men, and they're all blindfolded. So I thought that was kind of clever. It was neat. So real quick, and I thought it was funny how Dracula's son is the one that turned Jubilee into a vampire, and she was in this issue, and it's Dracula's grandson was the person that Dazzler was dating. So everything kind of came together in this second issue.
I just thought it was a funny issue too. Like, I miss books that are just like, here's some funniness, here's some action. I'm not saying every book should be that. I love my books with thoughtful commentaries as well, but it was just cool to see these girls interact, and I'm having a blast with it.
Yeah.
So now you remember perfectly why was your number 4.
Brian. Yeah, of course. It's just fun. Yeah.
It's just one of those books where I think if you don't take it too seriously,
right,
you just how you could.
And I don't know either. Yeah.
Some people will be like, "Oh, well, it's the X-Men, it's Dazzler. That's not what they do. They'll never go out and do this and do that." Why not? Why can't?
But I feel like these are the characters that would. Dazzler has never really been an X-Men. She loves to, have fun. Jubilee has been all over the place in the comics, and then Boom Boom of all people, like these are characters that would do exactly this.
For sure.
Right. Question here. We got, does Scotty Young also have his own book called Twig, which is through Image Comics? Yes, he does. And then he also did Middle West that Brant and I really enjoyed as well. That's something that you should read as well if you haven't got a chance to read it.
And I Hate Fairyland's about to come back.
Yes, I saw that. And you know what? I'm going to give it another try, Brant.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to give it another
She's
try.
all grown up now. And
yeah.
So,
and she's still giving everyone the finger.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I guess I got to do my number 4, right? Is that where we're at? My number 4 was Thunderbolts. I I like Thunderbolts. I think it's a good book. I enjoy how tough this is for Clint to be the leader of this team and not do the things that he wants to do because everything is so, it's kind of like how comics are, editorial, right? This is all got to be run by Luke Cage. He's got to follow all these rules and he wants to do things his way and he kind of can't. And Monica Rambeau is going to try to lead this team. And you can see that by the time we got to the end of this issue that he's kind of in over his head. And who does he call at the end of it? He calls Bobby. And I thought that was really cool. And I guess what we're getting at is maybe Mockingbird now is going to be making her appearance in this series. I think this book, even though it's comical at times, it definitely has its serious points in it. And it had that in this issue. So I appreciated that. I wasn't fond of him fighting apes and shit like that, but the serious points is what I liked about it.
Yeah, I wish I had more of that. And I love Bobby coming into it. I love that dynamic and I love her as a character too. So if that is where it's going, that's great. I like the book. I have fun with it, but I don't think it's like ever going to be one of my favorite books. It was my number 6. So it was close, but
okay.
Yeah, but I did enjoy it. And I like that Hawkeye still showed that he knew a little bit what he was talking about and he could, he's still, he'd been doing this for a long time, as he said. And so he knew some stuff, but at the same time, he was just not the leader that they needed at the time. So it's good seeing Monica step up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about Punchline.
I don't think I did
Kat
mine before.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kat. Go ahead.
It's okay. Mine is Catwoman, Lonely City. I hate these magazine style books, but it's here. It was solid. I liked it. It was a good issue. I don't think it ever reached the point of how good it was in issue 1 because they took such long hiatuses for this book. But if you're looking for a different angle on Catwoman, it's good art, good story. Good renditions of Poison Ivy and Riddler too. They're different type of characters here.
I don't think
I didn't buy it because
you didn't buy it
the size,
time, and the size. I'm done collecting those oversized.
Oh yeah, like this is my last one.
Really good.
Yeah,
I'll read it digitally.
I just can't. There's no point in making them that big.
Yeah.
But being that the book took almost a year to come out for 4 issues is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. I don't think I don't think I ever finished reading the last issue, so I skipped this one for now.
And that is okay. Because again, it wasn't like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Best book ever.
I did like that first issue quite a bit, though.
The first issue was
great. Too. The first issue was really good. And then it's like, well, where's the second issue?
Right.
I'd rather them just wait to release things and make sure things are done before they release that first issue. Honestly, New Champions did a great job of that. They delayed it for a couple of months because they're it's New Champion Shazam. They delayed it for a couple of months because they're like, all right, we got to get the art going. And it hasn't been delayed during its actual release. I'm like, all right, cool. I could wait 5 months for that first issue if it means I'm going to get the second issue next month.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on now. We'll talk about Punchline, the Gotham Game, issue 1. So what'd you think, Brent?
What I think? I'm curious what you think.
Okay. So
yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you my thoughts.
All right.
I thought the art was good.
Mm-hmm.
I like the story, how she's trying to get people together to follow her, right? I like that. I like how she got the Royal Flush Gang leaders. The way she was introduced was kind of hilarious. Like how she got there, was an interesting thing. But the one thing I didn't like was her creating this drug where they could sell over the counter and yet people still can get a high or something off of it. And it's just like, how can this be possible? If people are getting high or sick or whatever, the FDA or whatever it is, they're not going to approve this drug. So how does this drug even get made to begin with and pushed? I don't even get it. So I was a little bit dumbfounded by that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like I'm not a chemist, obviously, so I don't know like what those chemicals were that she was like, both of these are legal and you can buy it legally because, whatever. I don't understand how that got by laws and regulations either, but it's there. I don't know what they were trying to like do with that, but the Royal Flush Gang stuff that started like when she was in prison and all that stuff, I like that they're continuing that. So I agree with you there. I like that thread, and I like that that's kind of becoming her new gang, and like they're making this new character Aces and stuff like that. So I think that's fun, and I like you said, her introduction to the King and Queen, where they were basically they thought she was like a cosplayer there to be a threesome, is what it was. So it was like,
it was hilarious.
It was, it was kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's fun, and those backup stories I thought were fun as well. So I'm still on board for it, but I agree with you on the drug thing.
I'm gonna try, and I wish they didn't like hint on Batman already.
Right? Yeah, like he's already in the know and on their tail and everything. Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. We'll see. It has potential. I thought it was good enough, but I mean, I feel like this Punchline story needs to be very important. Like it needs to be written well, because if it's not,
it'd be important for Batman. But I feel like it's such a side story. It seems like
I just feel like Punchline is going to be an irrelevant character, because it's just like. Do
you think she's already irrelevant?
I think she's pretty close. That's why I say that this story is very important, because if it's not going to be good, people are just going to be like, well, screw Punchline. I'm not going to read anything she's in anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think
I could see that.
I don't want to say I don't think it was great to have her own backup story. So I guess it was nice to see her fleshed out, but I don't think she was in Batman long enough. And I don't think she did enough in Batman for me to be like, Punchline's so great.
I don't think she needed a backup story. I think she should have just like went away and then just like came back and see where, where she's been all this time since, the last time we've seen her and stuff like that, because putting her in a backup story makes her feel like she's a B-lister.
For sure.
I could see that.
So, all right, well, let's move on. Let's talk about another book that Brent and I read is Strange issue 7. So what'd you think about this issue with Clea finding out who the Harvest Man is?
I thought it was fine. It's like this series, I enjoyed it. It's another one of those, it's like I enjoy it every time I read it. It's probably not going to be in my top 5. But I do like the story, and I like that their relationship, their romance is, there's still like there's always something in between these two, and she just wants him back, and he's trying to protect her, and she's like, I like that whole scene where she's like, I'm the sorcerer supreme of 2 realms. I don't need your dang protection.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing, and all that stuff, and the way she fought side by side with him, but they couldn't touch, and all that stuff. So it's like this love story that can't be. So it's an interesting dynamic for 2 so powerful characters to be embroiled in. So yeah,
I like his plan on him trying to come back by working.
Yeah,
I thought that was very clever for him to work his way back into things. So very, very interesting. So yeah, not a bad book. I don't think it's as strong as it was originally, but I still like it. And I think the artwork is always very good in it, and I love the action in it as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our number 3, and I'll go with Kat since she hasn't talked in a little bit. What do you think, Kat?
Mine's Power Rangers, so I will continue not to talk too much because we already talked about
it. Brant, what's yours?
Mine is Vanish, so we already talked about that as well.
Mine is also Vanish.
Yours was also Power Rangers. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I remember I told you guys that I wasn't going to read Firepower.
I did, and then you X'd
I did. So it's on my pull list, my actual pull list. Like there's indies that I have to keep on my pull list in order to get them in, so I never took it out. So so when I saw it in there, I was like, firepower. I'm like, all right, why not? Because like I said, how long did it take you to read this book?
That's why
No,
I kind
not
of
long.
like it. It doesn't take very long, and like, oh, it's an easy read.
But it's like $4 of money. It's just a.
Oh yeah, nothing's happening. I will say at least in the end something happens, but even that I'm like,
But
I
no,
mean,
nothing
we'll see where it
happens
goes.
because at the end of it all, after all the entire story, this whole buildup, nothing changes. Nothing changes. The dragon's still alive.
Yeah, I mean, his mentor
Replaces
killed his
alive.
parents. I mean, that was a big thing.
What was that?
His
The
mentor
mentor
killed
killed
his
his parents.
parents. I thought that was a
Yeah.
big thing.
Okay.
And Mike's like, who cares?
Who cares? Now he can't interact with his parents.
Well, the parents are dead.
His real parents, not his.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh
right.
yeah.
That's
And
right.
he's
It
like,
was his
I
real
did
parents.
it.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's like, I should have told you I killed your parents. Okay, good. Big deal. Who
You
gives
know
a
it's
shit?
gonna
Well, it's a
be
big
an
deal to Owen, I'm sure.
Big deal for Owen, but the problem is that if you read the back of this book, the book is not coming back out for
Because you have that major cliffhanger.
for like I want to say it's not coming out till 2023 again.
Well, so that's only 2 months away.
Yeah. He didn't say when in 2023. And
January comes
again,
back.
the whole story arc was a build up to fight this guy and this dragon, and they're still both living.
Yeah.
It was good action though. Like I was like, I had fun
It was
with
good
the art.
action.
I'm not saying it's a good book.
You're the master of the firepower. How can this be? You're a waste? You're a waste of the power. Like, how many times did he say that in the book? I mean, it was like over the little dialogue that it had. It decided that it needed to repeat itself at least 8 panels in that book.
This is Kirkman though. It's what he does. He does things for like 8 or 9 issues.
Book. This
Outcast was worse than this.
He knows how to drag out stories and decompress stories and make like
maybe more than Bendis.
One scene make a whole comic book. But Firepower, it's been issues and issues and issues and issues now.
This is his Dragon Ball Z now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is Dragon Ball Z. Exactly.
Look, when it comes back in 2023, January 1st, we'll see what happens next.
So we'll see what happens with it. I'll probably still read it anyway. I just want more progression. Like the book.
No, I don't blame you.
The trade, when it first came out, phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it was really
so good. And in that first, how many issues? Like, I don't know. It was good for the longest time. Ever since they got to here to fight the dragon and the master, it's just been it hasn't been anything. And it's kind of frustrating, you know?
Yeah.
So. All right. Let's see what we got. What are we on? Exterminators. We talked about that book. Yep. We talk now. We go to our number 2. What's your number 2?
Who?
Both of you go, Kat.
Okay. Exterminators. Already talked about it.
Oh, there you go.
That's it. That ended that.
Well, mine's Strange Academy, so we already talked about that too.
Strange Academy for me too.
There you go.
Wow, we're on a wavelength this week. All right.
I bet I know what our number 1s are, but we'll get there.
I have a feeling too.
We'll get there before we get there.
All right. So we're going to talk about Rogues Gallery issue 4. Which is not my number 1.
It's not your number 1. Well, it's Kat's and it's mine. So
yes, I figured 100%. It was. I figured
it's
it was.
Such a good book. I was
when
surprised they didn't make your top 5.
No, it didn't make my top 5.
How did Spider-Man make your top 5?
No, Rogues Gallery was good. Listen, I liked it. It was my number 6, Rogues Gallery. I liked it.
Under Spider-Man.
Yes, under Spider-Man. I liked it, but it ended too quickly. I did not think that this book was going to end on this issue. I didn't realize that.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh,
no. And I just thought it was just like, it was just wrapped up too quickly. I'm like, she got dressed up, she kicked their ass, and they all wound up going to jail. And I was like, damn, like I liked it. Don't get me wrong. but I was just like, I felt that I wanted more. I wasn't pleased with the ending because I just felt, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like I felt incomplete. Like I just was like, oh man, that's it. It's done. You know,
the reason this is and now I know your number one is definitely that Spawn book, but I think Spawn came out this week. But yeah, Rogues Gallery. What I actually liked about this issue is that it felt like it wrapped up things nicely. I feel like there's so many indie books where it's just like, oh man, they dropped the ball on that last issue, but they did everything you wanted to happen. Destroyed the person they needed to destroy. The other guy, there's this kind of looming thread that maybe he's obsessed with her. And then, there's definitely threads that she was pregnant in the first issue. And now she's pregnant with the baby of the husband who's dead. And then there's this really interesting social commentary about, fandoms and
that I like.
How that impacted her mental health as well.
Yeah.
So, and the artwork's super solid for this book. It's just a solid book, beginning, middle, and end. And that's such a rarity for miniseries.
Yeah, all the social media stuff throughout this, like all the tweets that they showed in different scenes and stuff, it was really powerful because it's like some of them, some of them were like, okay, they changed their tune because she became the hero in real life, and others were just like, jackdaw for life, we hate you still, and that kind of stuff. And then like you alluded to the fanboy in prison drawing her pictures. I hope she likes this one. Is like, man. Yeah, there's so much stuff you could dig into with this, but I agree. I thought it was wrapped up really nicely, and I don't know where else it would have gone from there because it was literally that was the story, right? So I like the way it was wrapped up personally.
And I'm glad. Sometimes when comics use social media, it's jarring. It's like, oh man, why did they do that?
You got to do it the right way. There's some people that use
so
it.
Correct.
You got to do it the right way, and this was done because, like you said. You saw her, getting ready to fight those people in her house, and you got to see like how, like you said, it affected her mentally and everything that she's been through, and her struggle since issue 1. You've seen that struggle, But yeah, overall, really good series. It's always been in my top 5. It's just me being Spider-Man fan. That's why I like Spider-Man better. You know what I'm saying? And just like. I think what it is I like the series so much that I wanted more of it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what it is or how I would change it. I can't say I can't say that for sure. But I don't know, man. I just felt a little bit. I wanted more. That's all I can say. But still, really good book and really great series. I never thought that I was going to like this series as much as I did.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. So it was a surprise.
And I did. I was very much anticipating this book. So I was like, this looks like a final girl book. And I'm like, this looks amazing. And a lot of times when these type of books come out, they don't meet my expectations. So I was glad it actually met my expectations.
Right. So my number one book then, just to let you guys know, is a book that you guys don't read. And that was Barbaric Axe to the Grind, issue 3.
Damn, I was wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that book. And that also was a conclusion to the story arc. It was only 3 issues. And Owen is this barbarian's name that's got the axe that lusts for blood. And he's doing battle against his arch nemesis in here. And he winds up being transported away at the end of the issue. I'm not going to go too much into it, but what you're getting into at this point with the series is you're getting to learn more about who Owen is, where he came from, what's his origin story with the axe and how he was cursed. And there's still a lot of good things. The artwork is done really well. This is the book that's done by Volt. And it's funny because I went to the Halloween event at a bookstore at the comic store this week, and I got like Barbaric bookmarker. Like it was in I bought a mystery box and it was in there. I was like, that's cool, man. But yeah, this is a great story, man. I really like it. Again, something different, right? Independent book. It's comical but serious at the same time. The art is absolutely gorgeous, and it's a great book. And so yeah, definitely got number 1 for me this week.
Nice.
So all right. So that's it when it comes to the books. So we'll hand it over to Brant. And Brant, go for it when it comes to the most anticipated.
Yeah. So we got a good mix this week, I think. So some interesting.
Well, me and Brant don't, but we got the same ones. But
well, mostly. But there's one that we all three have. So let's skip that one and we'll talk about it at the end. But let's start with you, Mike, because your number 3 almost made my list.
Okay,
same. Great book.
Yeah,
number 3. I was surprised it was on no one else's list. So I was like, oh, my number 3 is Punisher issue 7. So I guess in this issue we're gonna come across Matt and Frank come together. I think in this issue. So we're gonna see what happens with that. I want to see what happens with the wife, because supposedly she's starting to remember more things now. That's what's going to happen in this issue too. So yeah, man, I can't wait for it. Every single issue of Punisher has been so good. So definitely good stuff there.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is, I think, on all of our lists, and this is Dark Knights of Steel, issue 8.
It's obviously coming back.
Yeah, this book has been on a break for a while, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen with all the cast of characters, the different kingdoms. You know, we're going to get to the second half of this story. It's been good pretty much every single issue.
I almost got spoiled on it today because it obviously comes out on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Quickly clicked away. I was like, oh my God, no, please.
Like, why are you spoiling this on Tuesday of all things?
Right?
Yeah, I know this is the Wonder Woman and Supergirl issue. So I'm very, very excited for that. I also just love their relationship. I think that's like another really good example of like queer representation. Like I'm just like all in for them. So we'll see. I mean, she's evil. But that doesn't mean gays can't be evil.
We don't know.
You think she's evil.
Oh, she's painted. She's painted as evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course I got Batman issue 129. I've been really enjoying Batman right now with the whole fail-safe situation. I've totally dropped Detective Comics now because I feel like between those 2 books, Batman, I've really enjoyed. I love how Tim is in that series, and I love when superheroes do have their backs against the wall and they got to kind of think through things and figure it out to kind of prevail. And I've really enjoyed it. I think the artwork by Jorge Jimenez has been second to none here. So really interesting story too. I love this book.
Speaking of Tim Drake, are you guys getting the second issue?
No,
I dropped it. I really don't like the art.
Yeah, I really don't either. I didn't like the story.
I think
either,
it was another artist, maybe, but I also didn't like the story. I agree. I thought it was too in left field. It was like, oh, who are all these supporting characters? They're like trying to do their own Burnside thing, but I want to support, but I don't.
Yeah, same.
I will read Batman.
Yeah. All right, Kat, let's go to you.
So mine is the Ones issue 1. I'm just curious to see. I'm anticipating it, not because I'm like, oh, I think this is gonna be great, but I'm genuinely anticipating it because I'm like, will this be good? He's not writing as many books, and I thought the premise was very interesting. The art looked good, so I was like, maybe this could be a Naomi, which I genuinely really love. So. I'm hoping this could be like Miles Morales, Jessica Jones style.
You're hoping for too much. I think
anticipating.
The one thing that gives me pause is because I read the preview. I forget which book it was in, but I read the preview of this and I didn't love it. I didn't love it, but it was just a couple of pages. So hopefully I'm wrong.
You're already hating it off for a preview. Preview should get you pumped, not being like, oh, I don't know.
It was slightly different than I was expecting it to be, so we'll see what you think. Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm anticipating. Right. Number 2 is Dark Knights of Steel. We already talked about it. And number 1 of my favorite books on stands, New Champion Shazam. Love Mary. Love the artwork for this. I think it's paced really well. Love this book.
Yeah, it's a really fun book as well. All right, so my number 3 is Secret Invasion. I'm always down for a Secret Invasion story.
You're anticipating it?
I'm
excited for it.
I'm anticipating. Like I'm trying to, meter my expectations for this.
I want to know what they're going to do different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Will they? Will they do anything
exactly.
different?
Will they? Hopefully it is different.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't remember if it was the last one, but
I know you're talking
where it was
about.
the family.
The
Yeah.
family, yeah.
I like
Don't
that
remember
one.
their names.
Yeah, I don't remember the names either, but I did like that book. I enjoyed that. So, we'll see what we get.
Who's writing this?
I don't
Look it
remember. Okay.
Let's see. Let's find out. Ryan North. Okay, same
yeah,
writer
yeah.
as that Power Pack mini that me and Brand really liked.
The same writer as the Fantastic Four.
Yes, Fantastic
yeah.
Four as well. I'm picking it up, even though it's an event. I'm like, it's Secret Invasion. We gotta see what it's about.
Gotta try it.
Exactly.
Kat will give it one issue. If it's not good, she'll drop it.
Oh, if this one issue is bad, we'll not be getting issue 2. Also, it's 5 issues, so warranted. If I get issue 2, then I gotta finish it. I'm not doing that.
Understandable. And then my number 2 is New Champion of Shazam, which we already talked about, and Dark Knights of Steel is my number 1. So
I hope Dark Knight Steel makes our number 1 picks next week. I'm really want it to be as good as it's been.
For sure.
Because we had the hiatus.
I hope so. All right. So that's it. We're done.
Yep.
We are
done. So guys, appreciate it. Hope you liked our little topic that we talked about. It seemed like you did. We had a lot of comments, and again, any suggestions that you want for topics, put it. This show's over now, so don't put it in the chat. So put it in the comments section of the video when this actually goes live, and we'll definitely take that consideration. And of course, we'll shout you out. So as always, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. And as always, if you like what you see, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the bell for notification. But before you do that, I guess you got to subscribe to the channel. So subscribe to Comic Book Weekly's YouTube channel and subscribe to my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. And then follow us on social media, even though we're pretty crappy at posting on social media. We got Facebook. We got
follow
Twitter,
our individual social media.
Instagram. Yeah, follow. Oh, you can follow me on my Facebook group page, Comic Book Corner 2.0 WebEd Unite. Follow us on, I think you guys got Twitter, right? You guys got Twitter.
Yeah, I have a verified check for now. I might have to spend
That's going to cost you $20.
I'm going to say it might cost me $8 that I will not be paying. But for now, I have a verified check.
Let's not even get into all that.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching the show. We'll see you next week, and happy New Comic Book Day, everyone. Good night.